Shalom to you and welcome. In this video, we are going to evaluate trigonometric functions of any angle, and we are going to use reference angle to evaluate them. Generally, to evaluate any trig functions, all you need to do is find a reference angle that is associated with that angle, and then find the quadrant where the angle will fall, because you need to know the sign, whether it's going to be positive or negative, depending on the quadrant. So a reference angle is any acute angle that is formed with the terminal side of the angle and the x-axis. Again, it has to be with the x-axis, not with the y-axis. In other words, it must be an angle of elevation or depression. And the reference angle must be positive. Of course, any angle must be positive. We usually write negative just to show whether we are going in clockwise direction or clockwise direction. So when it's drawn visually, a reference angle will look like this in the first quadrant. You always start with the x-axis. Like this in the second quadrant. Again, this angle A ends here, but the reference angle is the leftover there. It has to be with the horizontal. And then the third quadrant, and then the fourth quadrant. Okay, let's do one. Find the reference angle. So first of all, we need to find where... Oops, sorry. Okay, which quadrant? So we know that if we go around 180 degrees halfway and 360 degrees all the way. So this is bigger than 360. So we'll be able to take out 360. So we go around one way 360. So if we take away that 360, what is left? We're going to have 300 left. So, and 300 is not up to 360 anymore. So we can use halfway. Take away 180, go halfway. So if we take away 180, well, we have 120 left. Okay, 120 is not up to 180 anymore, but it's more than 90. So we can go 90, a quarter. So take away that 90, we have 30 left. So we're going to go a little more there to get our 30. So that's going to be where the angle 660 would be. And, because it's negative because we went opposite direction. Clockwise direction. Now, people will make mistake and think this is the remaining point here is 30. Angle is here is 30. That's the angle of reference. No. It is the one that makes with the terminal and the horizontal axis. So let me do it in a different color. So it's going to be this one here. And since this part is 30 degrees, this is going to be 60. So the reference angle is, for this angle, is 60. It's 60 degrees. Okay, that's how you do it. So now let's evaluate functions. Okay, here, cosecant, evaluate cosecant, 11 pi over 4. Seeing the denominator is 4, so this goes in fourths. It's in fourths. So if you can just try to draw the picture. Yeah. But so 11/4. So if we take away, that's 4 pi over 4, will give us 1 pi. So if you take away 1 pi, which is 4 over 4 pi, we get 7 pi. We get 7 pi over 4 left. So that's 1 pi. This is positive, so we are going in a clockwise direction. So we go 1 pi. We have 7 pi left. So we can still take out another 4 pi, which is another 1 pi. So going another way, which is 2 pi there. And then we have what left? We're going to have 3 pi over 4 left. 3/4 pi. So we went 1 all the way 2 pi. We have 3 pi left, and that is going to be here. That we're going to be half pi, 1/3, 2/3, 3/4, 3/3, right there. Okay, so that's our terminal side. Remain there. At the terminal side here. But again, our angle is, reference angle is over here. So if we have 3/4 left here, this is 3/4. This is 3/4 pi. So what is left here is going to be 1/4 pi over 4. So that's 1/4, and that's our reference angle. So which is angle 45. So if you remember, honestly, okay, let me just get rid of this a little bit so we can have a little clean spot here. So if you remember the 30, 60, 90, but this is 45, 45, the ratio of 45 degree, it's 1:1 to square root of 2. Honestly, that's basically all you need. Okay, so since this is 45 degree angle, this 45 degree angle, the right angle is here. The two legs will be the ratio of 1:1, and the hypotenuse is going to be square root of 2. Again, this came from a square. If you remember, if you don't remember that, you can draw a square. That's the diagonal of a square, a unit square. So now, to find this is in the second quadrant. In the second quadrant, of course, this is y and this is x. In the second quadrant, what is that this is your y also, and this is your x. In the second quadrant, x is negative, so write negative there, and y is positive, so leave it positive there. That's what you need to keep track of. And then this would depend on, once you put it as a ratio, whether it's going to be positive or negative. So now we're going to find the ratio cosecant. Now cosecant theta, cosecant theta is the reciprocal of sine. So it's going to be hypotenuse over opposite, because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So cosecant 11 pi over 4 is going to be the same thing as cosecant of the reference angle, which is pi over 4, okay, and which is going to be hypotenuse over opposite. So the hypotenuse is square root of 2 over the opposite of the angle is 1, so which will simply be square root of 2. That is how you evaluate this. Again, we find the reference angle first, because the reference angle helps us relate this angle to the angle we know, and then we can evaluate it. Okay, let's look at another one. This is cosine, evaluate cosine pi. Again, we can find the quadrant where it is. Okay, it's in the quadrant. So we can take out 3 pi over 3, which will be 1 pi, and we are left with just pi over 3. So we went only 1 pi, and it is positive, so we go in a clockwise direction. So we go half a circle, 1 pi. So after we do that, we have just a pi, 1/3 pi left, which is going to be in that quadrant. So our reference angle is going to be right there, and this pi over 3. So this is pi over 3, which is 60 degree angle. So if it is in the special right triangle, again, if you have 30, you have 60. So the 30 is the small leg. The ratio is 1 to square root of 3 to 2 for the hypotenuse. Again, if you remember that ratio, that saves you time from memorizing the unit circle, because that's all you need actually. Remember, the unit circle was created from these. Okay, so now we know that this angle 30, angle 60, this must be angle 30 then. So angle 30 is the opposite side of angle 30 is the small leg. So that's gonna be the 1. So we put 1 there. And then the opposite angle 60 is gonna be the longer leg, which is going to be square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse is going to be 2. Hypotenuse is always the radius there. So now we need to determine the side, the sign. So again, this is for x. This is x, and x is negative here. So it's going to be negative. this is y, and y is also negative there, so it's going to be negative. Okay, so always remember that sign. And now cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine 4 pi over 3 is going to be the same thing as cosine pi over 3, which is pi over 3, which is adjacent to this angle. Adjacent is 1, negative 1, over the hypotenuse, which is 2. And it's just negative 1/2. Okay. Let's see if we can do one more. All right, this one is in degree. So again, the same process. So is that 10? So we're going to see how round we can go. It doesn't make all the way to 360, but it's more than 180. So we can, again, do not worry about the sign. Just ignore the sign here. It just shows us the direction. So we are going to make 180 degree clockwise. So we take away that 180 degrees. And what do we have? 210 minus 180. We have 30 left. Okay, so it's just make a little step quick 30 there. And that gives us, going to be in the second quadrant. Okay, this is 30, and it makes, and it is a reference angle because it makes the angle with the x-axis. So we are using it. Okay. Again, in the 30-60 degree angle, again, in the 30-60 degree angle, the 30 is 1, opposite 60 is square root of 3, and the hypotenuse is 2. That's the ratio. So this is the side opposite 30 now. So it's going to be 1, ratio of 1. And that is y, and y is positive there. So it's going to stay positive. And then this is 30, then this must be 60. That's the other leg. It's going to be square root of 3. And this is x. X is negative here, so it's going to be negative. Now tan theta is opposite over adjacent. So tan negative 210 is going to be the same thing as tan 30, which is tan, the opposite is 1 over the adjacent, which is negative square root of 3. But we cannot leave square root in the down, so we have to divide both sides by the square root of 3 or negative square root of 3. It won't matter. That way you will still get negative square root of 3 over 3. And that will be your final answer. Okay, I hope you get that.